Hello Greyhounds! As we are eagerly waiting for the fourth season of Ted Lasso to be released, why don't we take a stroll down memory lane to remember Easter eggs and pop culture references from 3 adorable seasons.
Let's have a look at episode 4 of season 1, For the Children. We get our first pop culture reference when Jamie and Roy
Get into a fight in the locker room.
the coaches break them up, with Ted asking Beard about Fight Club rules. This is of course a reference to the very famous cult book and film Fight Club from Cusp, 1999. The film, by David Fincher, based on the book by Chuck Palahniuk, was an anti-commercialism manifesto in which men joined fight clubs across the country, which famously had 8 rules, the first 2 of which were, we don't talk about Fight Club. Its cult status and success was undoubtedly helped by how cool it looked, with Brad Pitt and Helena Bonham Carter being impossibly hot, and Edward Norton looking comfortingly pathetic, as well as the Where Is My Mind anthem by the Pixies on its soundtrack, leading to the resurgence of that cool group. I won't spoil the twist in case you haven't seen it, but also I can think of many reasons why it wouldn't have aged very well. As he breaks up the fight, Ted says, "For the love of Pistol Pete." That may be just an expression, but I do like to Google things, and if you are still watching, you probably like that too, so... There was this old legendary cowboy called Frank Eaton, nicknamed, inexplicably, Pistol Pete, who wrote stories about his Old West life, stories that may have been fictional, who has given his nickname to no less than 3 university mascots: the New Mexico State University, the Oklahoma State University, and the University of Wyoming. And there are several professional athletes nicknamed Pistol Pete, among them an old basketball player called Pete Maravich, a 5 times NBA All-Star that sadly died of heart failure aged only 40, who was considered one of the best ball handlers and offensive talents ever to play. Then there's Pete Sampras, one of the best tennis players ever,
With 14 Grand Slam wins.
and Pete Razor, an old baseball player and subsequent coach that played in the 40s and was a 3 times All-Star. My favorite Pistol Pete is Pete DeCilio, local pony hero who in 1992 played for the Pony Central Drunken Savages, and with his dunk clinched the win against the hated Eagleton High. Maybe that's what Ted meant. Ted likens the divided team to West Side Story, the super-duper musical inspired by Romeo and Juliet set in New York in the mid-50s, showing 2 gangs, the Polish Jets and the Puerto Rican Sarks, fighting amidst a changing city. The 1961 film, with Natalie Wood and Rita Moreno among others, is a stone-cold classic, and that's coming from someone who doesn't like musicals. But if you don't do old films, there's a 2021 version by Steven Spielberg that I have no opinion on, but which had awesome reviews, and the cast is fire. Anyway, if you have any questions about the story, check with Nate, who was an understudy for Anita at his all-boys school. The original music guest at the children's gala was going to be Robbie Williams, and I think Ted is asking, who is that? Because despite being very successful in the UK and Europe with his boy band, Gentleman's Band, Take That, and as a solo artist,
Robbie Williams never quite managed to crack America, the dream that most UK artists foster but very few achieve.
there was recently a film about his life that was apparently good but nobody saw, and my question is, who funded that?
Robbie Williams has a song with Kylie Minogue in which they're singing how they're doing it for the kids.
Which is not quite the name of the charity, but close enough, and you can hear it over the closing credits. Richmond Theatre is a real theatre in Richmond, but regrettably, none of these plays on show are real, which means that someone spent time designing them, and they look pretty realistic. And that's before AI, you know? I wonder if their name was Sarah, and if they were looking for inspiration from anything. Once inside the theatre, Ted says how he parent-trapped Roy and Jamie, meaning that by making them sit together, he wanted them to get over their differences. The Parent Trap started as a book by beloved German children's writer Erich Kästner, where 2 random girls go to summer camp and discover that they are identical twins, split from each other when their parents divorced, who then try to bring their parents together. If that sounds familiar, it's because we have seen either the original Parent Trap in 1961 or the 1998 star-making remake with Lindsay Lohan, Dennis Quaid, and the late Natasha Richardson. It has become so much part of the vernacular that Jess, the new girl herself, tried to parent trap her parents several times, unsuccessfully. Ted offers some examples of teammates that weren't best friends. Zack and Kobe from the Lakers, Lennon and McCartney from the Beatles, and Woody and Buzz. And I vote Woody and Buzz anytime. This is the first time that Rupert Mannion makes his appearance, trying to steal Rebecca's thunder. He gets to sit at table 4, which, despite Rebecca's promise to him, was in fact the boring table. It's also where Higgins is sitting. Rupert Mannion is a real piece of shit. When Rebecca is having her emotional chat with Ted outside Richmond Theatre, she says that she needs to freshen up. Otherwise, it looked like Robert Smith, referencing the singer of English rock band The Cure. And The Cure must be more famous than Take That in America, because Ted knows who he is. Jamie says he had a poster of Roy on his wall when he was a kid. We get to see that poster at the end of season 3 when we see Jamie's room, as well as another poster that was there. Listen, Jamie has done well in life. And Ted gets Cam Cole, the busker we met in episode 2, to be the musical guest after the failure to find a replacement for Robbie Williams. He's a real artist, by the way. You can check out his stuff on his website. Just before I leave you, Hannah Waddingham let it slip out that Ted Lasso season 4 is coming up in August, so I better get a move on with his videos, I guess. That's it for me today. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking or subscribing. As always, thanks for watching.